All right, ARCA at Richmond. So for this one, I'm going to go 14 to 1. I'm going to go down to +5. And then I'm going to start my brake bias pretty low. Usually Richmond, we do want the low brake bias. I'm going to go to 60. You might want to go lower, but 60 is like a good place where you can test it out at least. If you notice, my graphics should be better because I got a new computer. And it is allowing me to play this game with max settings at over 200 FPS. Did I go overkill? Maybe a little. So we'll do a couple runs here. Or a couple laps, I mean. Probably going to be second lap, hot lap. One and two really likes this late apex line. And 3 and 4, you don't quite do the late apex line. Probably gotta be a little bit more patient on full throttle there. Alright. I'm gonna do a little run up here.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
Okay, well now we're chipping out, which means we got a good run. Very good. An early dive to the bottom. Patient along the yellow. Then hard throttle off. Oh, little loose. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen when we're throttling up like that from the bottom. You just kind of gotta be ready for it. But that's sort of the right idea. Okay. Again, might be a little bit off here from what the best guys end up, but it will be this line. This is just the Richmond line. So 1 and 2, I really like the late apex. Like I said earlier, it reminds me a bit of Iowa a bit, because you really want to straighten out your exit. Because if you look at the track shape here, turn 2 is a really tight exit, where turn 4 is a really wide exit. So when you have a really tight exit, that means that you want to straighten out your exit on hot laps. When you have a wide exit, it means you want to shallow up your entry on hot laps so that you can, because you still can get to the throttle just as early. So don't need to do much hard braking. I'm max braking like 30-ish, maybe 40%, not even. And then just trailing into the corner with that late apex. And then just trying to throttle through the yellow line. You don't want to wait till you get to the yellow line. If you're throttling after you get to the bottom, that means that either you weren't late enough or you can be more aggressive on the throttle. You should be able to get your car planted and then throttle through the yellow line like so. And with the perfect line, you can probably full throttle all the way through. Quite a lot of steering to be this much throttle, but the ARCA car is fairly grounded. Not very loose in this corner, like you would be in a turn 4 because of how like the banking transition works. So 1 and 2 specifically, if you get that late apex, you can really be aggressive on the full throttle. Then 3 and 4, love getting to the yellow line early in 3 and 4 because of how early we can get on the throttle. Because what happens is if you take this too wide, well, I can throttle up just as early on the bottom as on the top, just because of the shape of the corner. And you have to slow down a lot on entry because the entrance is tighter. So harder braking definitely into 3 than into 1, maxing out around 40, 45. And then don't be afraid to just keep it on the yellow for a little bit longer. I think I could have started letting it up a little, like right here. I think I can start letting it up here and then avoid the little slide there, and then kind of bring it all the way up to the wall. But we survive, lose like a 10th there. It's okay. So the right idea. This is the most important part though, getting to the yellow line early and then picking up your throttle, but not too much to where you instantly slide off the yellow. You want to get on the throttle and still be able to stay on the yellow. That's the important part. And then the more patient you are on the yellow, the less loose you get on exit. Should be able to wear the tires pretty evenly here. So now we're transitioning into just thinking about pure speed, into smoothness, and making sure we're sliding tires as little as possible. So I'm going to brake a little bit earlier and a little bit lighter. Still get that late apex. Get the car really pivoted before throttling out of the corner. Early entrance here. Really get the car stuck on the yellow line. Later you can keep it down there, the more that you can just drive it straight up the track like this. Same line, just not being quite as on the limit on everything so that we don't jump over it. I do like staying on this yellow longer here. Makes this exit a lot easier when we run the bottom. You can see we can gain a little time there, but then look at how we can't throttle up as early in turn 2 because we don't have the angle. You really need the angle in turn 2. And you can see if we get a really crazy angle, this might wear a little bit extra right front tire, but if we get a really crazy angle, then we can get a pretty aggressive exit off. Whereas if we do that in turn 3 here, like watch we get this angle here. We lose a lot on entry, but look at that. It didn't really do anything for us. We still are in the same situation than if we didn't take the big wide angle. And that's because of how wide the exit of 4 is. The approach, whether you're on the top, on the bottom, or cutting down from the top, is not all that different. Like, look how easy we can make the exit just by running the bottom. Probably can dive this a little harder even. I just don't want it sliding off the yellow line. That's like the worst thing that can happen. But okay. So I don't think the lines are going to transition into anything else. Richmond is usually single groove. When you're side by side, you can survive on the top because you take away the bottom guy's exit. Because both corners you really need to slide up to the wall. So if you can get a nose to someone on the outside and keep even with them rolling the corner, suddenly you're in the advantage. But in terms of like everyone shifting to the top, I highly doubt it. And you can see that barely did anything on the tires. And we ran a few laps. So just keep your tires from sliding. Try not to turn the wheel too hard to get into the corner, but you should be good to go. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.